Hi, today I'm talking about Jean Harlow, the beautiful star in the 1930s. She died in 1937 at the age of 26. Jean Harlow was an American actress. She was born Harleen Harlow Carpenter on the 3rd of March 1911 to Montclair Carpenter and Jean Poe Carpenter, whose maiden name was Harlow, in Kansas City, Missouri. Her mother Jean was the daughter of a wealthy real estate broker called Skip Harlow and his wife Ella. In 1908, Skip arranged her marriage to dentist Montclair Carpenter. She was only 17 years old, and it ended up being an unhappy marriage. They stayed together for quite a while though, and lived in a house that was owned by Skip. Harleen attended Miss Barstow's finishing school for girls. In 1922, her mother filed for divorce, and she was granted full custody of Harleen. In 1923, Jean Carpenter moved to Hollywood with Harleen to pursue an acting career. She was now in her 30s and was told she was too old to start a film career. Harleen was enrolled at the Hollywood School for Girls. Apparently Skip was wielding his power once more over Jean and told his daughter that if they didn't return to Kansas City, he would disinherit her. A very fateful event occurred because of Skip. He sent Harleen to a summer camp at Camp Chautauqua in Michigami, Michigan. Harleen contracted scarlet fever while she was there. Harleen attended the Ferry Hall School in Lake Forest, Illinois. Jean Carpenter picked this school as it was close to where her boyfriend lived, Marina Bello. While at this school, Harleen met Charles Vermont McGrew III, known as Chuck, through a friend. He was from a wealthy family. They got married in 1927. Harleen was only 16. Her mother also got married in 1927 to Marina Bello. Chuck received part of his inheritance when he turned 21 the following year, and they left Chicago and moved to Los Angeles, where they lived in a house in Beverly Hills. She wasn't even a star yet, and she was already living in Beverly Hills. Harleen became friends with a young actress called Rosalie Roy. She didn't have a car and asked Harleen if she could drive her to Fox Studios for a meeting. While Harleen was waiting for Rosalie, she was spotted by studio executives who asked her if she was interested in acting in the movies. She said she wasn't interested, but they persisted and gave her a letter of introduction to Central Casting. Rosalie teased Harleen that she didn't have the gumption to go to an audition. Jean Carpenter had followed Harleen to Los Angeles, and she encouraged her to pursue it. She went to Central Casting but didn't want to sign in under her own name of Harleen McGrew, and so she signed under her mother's maiden name of Jean Harlow. She started as a platinum blonde extra, and because of her looks she gained the attention from the powerful men in the movie business. In 1928, Harleen signed a contract with the Hal Roach Studios under the name of Jean Harlow. Her mother was known as Mama Jean after this to differentiate between the two of them. She gained small roles and was brought to the attention of director Howard Hughes, who was filming Hell's Angels. He had filmed it as a silent movie and then decided he wanted to reshoot it with sound, as the talkies had arrived. He needed to replace Greta Nissan, who was beautiful but had a Norwegian accent. This was fine if it was a silent movie, but didn't work for a sound film. Howard gave Jean the role. Jean was now single as she had left Chuck and was able to fully commit to acting. It was while working on this film that Jean met her second husband, MGM executive Paul Byrne. Hell's Angels was released in 1930 and was the highest grossing film of the year. It made Jean a star. She was loaned out to other studios and made The Public Enemy with James Cagney and other films, but critics were harsh about her acting. Columbia Pictures cast her in a movie which they renamed Platinum Blonde to capitalise on Jean's blonde hair. Jean had naturally ash blonde hair, but she achieved her platinum blonde colour with Clorox bleach, Lux soap flakes and ammonia. This ended up damaging her hair. Jean was romantically involved with Paul Byrne. He succeeded in winning her a contract with MGM. She starred in Red-Headed Woman, where she wore a red wig, and she garnered better reviews for her acting. Paul and Jean were married in 1932. She starred in Red Dust with Clark Gable. It was during the filming of this movie that her husband Paul died of a gunshot wound. It was made out to be suicide, but it is now believed that Paul was murdered by his former common-law wife, Dorothy Millette. Jean survived this scandal with the help of the MGM executives, but then Jean had an affair with boxer Max Baer. He was separated from his wife, Dorothy Dunbar, but she was threatening to name Jean as the person her husband had committed adultery with. The studio stepped in again and arranged a marriage between Jean and Harold Rosson, who was a cinematographer. They divorced less than a year later. Her other successful films were Hold Your Man with Clark Gable, Dinner at 8 with Wallace Beery, Bombshell with Franchon Tone and Lee Tracy, The Girl from Missouri with Lionel Barrymore, China Seas with Clark Gable, and Wife vs. Secretary with James Stewart. Here she is in Dinner at 8. In Libeled Lady, she had top billing over the other stars, William Powell, Myrna Loy and Spencer Tracy. Her last completed film was Personal Property with Robert Taylor. At the end of May 1937, Jean was visibly ill-looking. Her skin was grey, she was perspiring, in pain, and had put weight on. Saturday 29th of May 1937 was her last day on the set of the movie Saratoga, the movie she was making with Clark Gable. She had to go home as she was too ill to complete her work for the day. Here is a photo from that day with Clark and director Jack Conway. Sunday the 30th of May, actor William Powell, her current boyfriend, called a doctor to Jean's house. Dr. Ernest Fishbar initially diagnosed an inflamed gallbladder. Thursday the 3rd of June, a second doctor, Dr. Leyland Chapman, was consulted for a second opinion. He realised that poor Jean was dying from kidney failure. At that time there weren't dialysis machines or kidney transplants, and it was fatal. Jean's body bloated and her breath smelt of urine as her kidneys failed and she stopped urinating. Sunday the 6th of June, an ambulance was called and she was taken to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles. Monday the 7th of June, Jean's brain swelled with the build-up of excess fluid and she slipped into a coma. She died at 11:38 a.m. Clark Gable, her frequent co-star and friend, and William Powell visited her bedside. Her official cause of death was cerebral edema, which is caused by kidney failure. Rumours circulated that her mother, Jean Bello, who was a Christian Scientist, had refused medical attention for her daughter. However, doctors did visit Jean at her Beverly Hills home, and therefore the rumours are untrue. She had caught scarlet fever when she was 15 in 1926 during the summer camp trip. The reason she died from kidney failure seems to stem from the scarlet fever she suffered 11 years earlier. It had resulted in her being left with glomerulonephritis. This is when the immune system attacks healthy tissue in the kidneys. Saratoga was completed by using 3 actresses as doubles. Mary Dees was used for close-ups, Geraldine Dvorak for long shots, and Paula Winslow for her voice. It was MGM's highest-grossing film in 1937. Here she is in The Public Enemy. Jean wrote a novel called Today is Tonight in the mid-1930s, but it wasn't published until 1965. The Jean Harlow cocktail was created during her heyday and it was a favourite of hers. It is just 50 ml of light rum, such as Bacardi Carta Blanca, and 50 ml of sweet vermouth, such as Martini Rosso. The way to make it is to mix the ingredients in a cocktail shaker with ice cubes, then strain the mixture into a chilled cocktail glass, then top it off with a lemon peel twist for garnish. Jean was buried in a private marble room, number 34, Crypt B. It cost William Powell $25,000, which is over $400,000 in today's money, in the Great Mausoleum in the Sanctuary of Benediction, Forest Lawn Memorial Park, 1712 South Glendale Avenue, Glendale, Los Angeles, California. Her tomb has 2 words engraved on it, "Our Baby," which was a nickname her family had given her from an early age. The Great Mausoleum isn't open to the general public, which is such a shame, as people can't visit and bring her flowers. She was buried with a white gardenia and a handwritten note penned by William Powell that read, "Good night, my dearest darling." There were spaces for Jean's mother and for William at the crypt. Jean's mother was interred here in 1958, but William married, and when he died in 1984, he was cremated and buried elsewhere. That's awful, wasn't it? I mean, 26 is no age at all to die. What she could have achieved if she'd lived longer. It's so sad. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.